What's up, ballers? Jacob here with AllDriveNoDrop, talking about the Joola Pro 4s, talking about the Perseus, talking about the Agassi, and how do they compare? How do they compare to the Joola Gen 3S? And yes, this is going to be my second time releasing this video. I will own up to it. I may have included stuff that I wasn't supposed to be including, so if you watch that video, you might have got something, but anyway, it's done. So I'm adding a little bit more to the video because I did not have the Agassi version originally, and we're still going to have the comparison here. So if you've never seen this before, we're going to have the comparison of the Perseus Pro 4 16mm to the Gen 3S Perseus 16mm. Give you everything you need to know if you want to get the new one and you're curious how it compares to the old one. And then the weight setup, all that good stuff, all the good stuff you still have. And these are $279.95, just in case you wanted to know. If you want to help support the channel, use the link in the description to go buy it. There are no discounts right now, but in the future, if you're watching this, say like May, then you'll get a 10% discount. But for now, nothing. I'm sorry. Now, the Agassi 14mm is a good thing that, maybe it's a good thing I'm redoing this because I don't think actually anyone talked about the 14mm, and I love playing with this thing. So talking about the Agassi 14mm as well. So we'll have a section on that. We'll have the comparison. We'll get into all the construction stuff still. And yeah, that might... So maybe I said too much already. Anyway, let's get into the construction. We'll get into the specs and talk about how all these play on the court. And I know. Let's go. Okay, so I'm going to throw up on the screen a slide from Joola, basically breaking down their construction. So what they're adding here, basically you still have the propulsion core, right? So some people were theorizing, is it going to be an all-foam core? No, it's not an all-foam core. You still have the propulsion core with the hyperfoam edge wall, but now we have the Tech Flex power. And you can see they added foam into those areas, into those that yellow-greenish area. And what this does is, one, it makes the sweet spot bigger, and two, it makes the paddle a little softer feeling. So some people in the past for the Gen 3S said, okay, it feels very hollow, it's a little stiffer. This definitely does reduce the stiffness, and it reduces that hollow feeling. For me, that's a win because as I did enjoy the Gen 3S, I do prefer it not as stiff and hollow. I think that the sweet spot is definitely bigger. I'll save that for you right now. It's definitely bigger. So that is the main difference, adding that Tech Flex. So we kind of have a, like a little bit of an upgrade. You're gonna probably start seeing that when the paddle is that good. We're just gonna make a small upgrade. So what else do we need to know? Well, we have the $279.95, right? And they're going to have two different versions of this. This is the USA and UPAA certified version. They're also going to have a UPAA only certified version. The only difference basically is you're going to have more grit on the UPAA only version because UPAA allows more grit. So if you can, I think for most people, they're going to pick that UPAA only version if they're not playing in any USAP sanctioned tournaments, because why not get more spin? And then they are dropping the price on the Gen 3S to $259.95. And then you are also going to have a dual certification with the Gen 3S, and you're going to have one that is UPAA approved only. And same difference there, the UPAA approved is going to be grittier. That's the breakdown of what's coming, and then you have all the same shapes that you love coming. It's just those are going to be a little bit, those are going to be out later, and you have the addition of the Agassi shape, which I will throw up on the screen here. I just don't have it at this moment, but if you're interested in the Agassi shape, there it is. But let's break down the specs for this real quick. So the Pro 4 Perseus 16mm, you have the propulsion core with the new Tech Flex. It's an elongated shape, carbon fiber facing, 16.5 by 7.5, classic, elongated shape, 16mm core, 8.1 ounces, 5.5 inch handle, plenty of room for two-handed backhands, grip circumference of 4.25, swing weight of 118, and a twist weight of 6.34. So now let's just jump into the straight up comparison with the stats real quick. I know that's, that's what everyone's looking to get. So for the power, very close in power. Pro 4 is going to take the lead there by a little bit. And then I found that the Gen 3S was slightly poppier and, like I mentioned before, slightly stiffer, which makes sense. The swing weight, you got a 3-point reduction in swing weight for the Pro 4 Perseus 16mm, which is great. That 118 really starts getting into pretty good for elongated and lets you do some more maneuvering with the weight setup. Twist weight, pretty even there. Twist weight here doesn't really fully show that the sweet spot is bigger on the Pro 4 Perseus. So that's the one area you see that twist, you're like, oh, it's not that different. It's quite a bit different in the sweet spot, I found. Spin. So this is where we start getting into some more differences. The Pro 4 has more dwell time than the Gen 3S, and I think that is due to that TechFlex addition of that foam. So more spin on the Pro 4. I think most people are in favor of that more spin. And then we get into the price. The Pro 4 is going to be a little bit more expensive. So that's kind of how these break down. They play very similar. They have these small differences. I think that the Pro 4, for me, if I'm saying, hey, here's the price difference, you get these added benefits, you get more spin, you get more dwell time, you lose a little pop, but you get more power, and you have a bigger sweet spot with a lower swing weight stock. I think for all those small upgrades, it's enough to justify the price for me. And obviously just picking straight up between the two, I'm going to pick the Pro 4 Perseus 16mm. Now, will all the paddles perform and be similar? From everything I'm hearing, it sounds like these differences are going throughout the lineup. And I definitely will check for myself as we go. So also, we'll talk about the weight setup here. I've got a 5-inch, 0.5 gram per inch strip of tungsten tape, starting about like an inch above the handle and going up the sides. So you can see that there, this design, as we're talking about this, it's a little simpler than before. No gradient edge guards, and each different shape is going to have a different color. But yeah, anyway, that's my weight setup. You can see on my 3S, I went a little bit more just because the sweet spot needs it a little bit more. For this, I think this weight setup is actually pretty good. I need more time to find the optimal weight setup. This one performed very well for me as I've been testing the paddle, and I'll kind of talk about that now. So let me talk about my experience with the paddle in a Moneyball tournament that I played in, because I wanted to test out this paddle in a situation where people are playing, in a competitive setting and there's money on the line, so there's not much messing around. Like, we're playing for real. And let's just talk about it. So the sweet spot, I think, is above average for an elongated paddle. I really enjoyed it, and I didn't feel any vibration on these off-center hits, which, sometimes say like the paddle techs, that's one of the things that gives me like a, the tennis elbow, is those off-center hits having like a lot of vibration. This one felt great. You do have that diving board effect where you get, more power towards the top, and you get that exponential power with this paddle. I did feel that, but the good thing was, for me, this power was consistent. When I'm hitting the sweet spot, I'm getting that consistent, great power on my serves, great power on my drives. That was how I was winning these games. I was using that power on my drives, using that power on my volleys, and in my serves. I just found myself placing the ball where I wanted to too. It helped that it had added dwell time with this new Pro 4. It also helped that I was getting great spin. So no problem there playing the AllDriveNoDrop play style. And then as far as resetting the ball, this is kind of like the perfect pop range for me. I don't want it usually like too poppy, but I still want good pop, right? And this is, just in that range. The pop helps you reset the ball from the midcourt. It's not too poppy where you can't control it in the dinking. I was having great success with moving my dinks around, both two-handed, backhand, topspin dinks, and forehand dinks. Really easy to control this paddle at the net. I think that this is, with that bigger sweet spot, this is even easier to control than the Perseus 3S 16mm. So happy there in the soft game, in the resets, and the feel of the paddle. You get that great dwell time. I like that. Yeah, good touch, good power, good pop, and the swing weight isn't too high for an elongated. So pretty good maneuverability. I would say, you know, anywhere you're going to ding the paddle is in hands paddles a little bit, but that's just kind of elongated paddles is the maneuverability side for side. If you're not used to elongated, then that, you know, you get there. But, you know, plenty of pop to finish the points in hands battles with counter punches. I had some pretty good counter punches in the Moneyball. But yeah, so took first place in the Moneyball with this. And I really had no complaints. It was all just really good stuff from the paddle. As everything I outlined led to me winning it. Would I say it was all the paddle? No, of course. No, of course not. You know, I did most of the work, right? But, you know, the paddle helped me, helped excel my abilities. So as far as that goes, really impressed with the paddle, my first impressions. And then that was, you know, you can go look back at that comparison for any of the stats. Very close, like I said, kind of minor upgrades. Let's jump in. Okay, so let's talk about the Agassi 14mm edition. Don't have the 16. Don't know how it plays. I assume it plays similar to the 16mm Perseus. But let's talk about this. Cool shape. I actually was very interested in the shape. I just like how it looks and all that good stuff. So this is actually pretty close to the Perseus 14mm as far as like stats goes. This is a 116 swing weight. Perseus 14mm, about a 116 swing weight, both around the 6.0 twist weight. I think this one was a 6.03 and the Perseus was 6.01. Both play very well stock, right? So if you're just like, that's what you're trying to decide. Like, do I get the Agassi or do I get the Perseus? Honestly, this is what I think the difference for me is. And a lot of the people that have been able to demo these now that they're out of the lifetimes and they're in a lot more people's hands, I think this is the explanation. Because I've heard a lot of people be like, oh, I love the Perseus versus I love the Agassi. I think that the Agassi's sweet spot you get it's just slightly higher than the Perseus's. Now, is that true? Did they put, you know, like, is there something with the density, or is it just the shape? I just think that the sweet spot is a little bit higher than the Perseus, and that's kind of what I'm putting it down to. So if you're someone that, and when I'm saying higher, it's just like a slight tweak, but you know, that can just make your shots just slightly off. But yeah, and then there's something about it, like maybe, you know, you get a little bit more curve on the top. Is it a little bit more aerodynamic? I don't know. It probably doesn't make that much of a difference. And then I put about a 5-inch strip here going from the handle up, just 1 gram per inch tungsten tape. That just, you know, solidifies it a little bit. It's not really that it's too unstable. It just needs a little bit here, and just, you know, especially this compared to the Perseus with the way the shape is. I just want to add some more weight down there. And yeah, it played very well. I was impressed. So that's kind of my thing. Of course, if you can, go demo these if it's possible, because the difference is very slight. I don't know if there's going to be like a pure winner, or if it's kind of going to be split down the middle of who likes what, and it really is going to come down to a feel thing. But that is my differentiator, is if you tend to hit higher up on the paddle just a little bit, then I would go with the Agassi. If not, I'd go with the Perseus, and that's just how I'm going to break it down for now. But I really did enjoy this Agassi 14mm. It was a lot of fun, and that was my weight setup. So that's it. Let's jump in to the conclusion. Do I recommend getting a Joola Pro 4? Well, as you can see, I've only played the Pro 4 Perseus 16mm, and the Perseus and the Agassi ones are the ones going on sale today, if you're watching this on the pre-order launch day. But you have all the shapes coming: the Magnus, the Scorpius, the Hyperion. Those are going to be in the 14 and 16 as well. So if those are your shapes and you can order them today and they'll ship in April, good. Or you can order these now, they'll ship soon. I think that this is a premier power paddle. Honestly, it's one of the best power paddles on the market. That's it. I mean, the sweet spot, great. Spin, great. Dwell time, great. Power, excellent. Pop, great. I mean, the only question I have left unanswered is how will the durability stand the test of time? Because obviously, Joola has had problems with durability in the past. And I've been one of the biggest critics, maybe the biggest critic, I don't know. I've definitely been out there calling them out. But everything I've heard from Joola in the last couple months, which of course, you know, maybe they're going to tell me what I want to hear, but I've heard great things. They've admitted they were wrong, and they're working towards making this the best paddle that they can make. For me, that goes a long way when you admit you were wrong and you tell us how you're fixing the mistakes. You know, no more pre-crushed cores. You know, no more cores that are bigger than they're supposed to be, like where they're putting the 17 millimeter core into a 16 core paddle face. So all those things lead me to believe that this is going to be a much better success than the stuff they've done before. And there's just no denying how well this paddle plays. It's easily a top 3 power paddle for me. Now, is it going to take the top spot? I think you're going to have to wait and see. You know, I haven't had enough time with it, but it's so good. So far, so good. I would definitely pick it over the 3S. If you liked the stiffer, more hollow feel, still going to get that in the 14 probably, but not as much. So if you really like that, you still want to stick with the 3S. But if you're like, hey, everything you're saying to me, Jacob, that's what I want, then I think you're going to take a look at the Pro 4. Like I was saying, no discount right this second, but please do use a link, help support the channel. If this video was helpful for you, please subscribe to the channel. Really helps me grow. And of course, if you've hit this paddle, if you've hit any of the models, drop it in the comments your experience. I love to hear what your experience has been so far. I really do appreciate hearing those comments. And that's all for me. I really do appreciate all the support. And thank you so much. Go play some pickleball.